Hello and welcome to the Brutal Iron Gym podcast, where our goal is to cut through the BS and deliver the brutal truth about topics related to health and happiness. So today's topic is a trainer education, and recently we've did a podcast about the 10 reasons why your clients should fire you. And today we're going to go over the podcast of why you should fire your clients. So there isn't actually 10 today, there's only 8. And I could have fudged 2 more, but why waste your time? So we're going to go through the most important ones. And the first thing we're going to address is no matter how bad a client gets, you're often going to be afraid to fire them due to financial reasons. You're not going to want to say goodbye to the money. However, I will tell you from personal experience and from all of the business success books that I've read, that it's absolutely necessary for when there's an experience in your business that isn't growing you or growing the business, that you need to cut it. And you could say, well, they're paying towards towards my business. How is that not growing my business? No, that's sustaining your business. There's a difference. So there are things that help you make money today, and there are things that help you make money in the future. So if the client experience is a bad one and it doesn't have progressive benefit long term, just temporarily it pays the bills today, but it doesn't have progressive benefit for tomorrow, you need to cut that client. Now, I'm telling you this from personal experience. Every single time I did it, it was a hard decision. So I didn't get into doing this job to make money, but money is definitely necessary and I got to pay bills. And what I wrestled with more than money loss was actually just saying no to someone in the sense of taking away an opportunity for them to be healthier. And what I found was in those cases, my presence wasn't making them healthier or happier. So they were just kind of a Debbie Downer. They always came in with a crap mood. They never really focused that hard. I had to constantly modify everything we would do to downgrade to whatever pathetic effort they would put in. And it was always just kind of this horrible hour that would set me up for a negative mood for the rest of the day, or I would kind of negatively look forward to it. And it would kind of ruin my whole day when I saw that person's name on my schedule. And/or the stuff we ended up doing that they were kind of willing to do and wouldn't put up a fight for wasn't really progressing things very well. So it was never really my best representative of knowledge or results, and they were never bringing in their best. And sometimes you have to ask yourself, am I enabling this person or am I still benefiting this person? And what I came to in the conclusions that I had was I'm religious, so I prayed and tried to look for extra signs and things like that. But I also went through and kind of figured it out myself and tracked things and saw that there was really no progressions for them in happiness or in health. So the health results were kind of, to sustain the results that they had gotten, but we weren't really blazing a trail forward. We weren't making big changes, and they weren't really that much happier. So it was better for me to cut them as a client and spend my time and knowledge on somebody who would benefit from it. And often when I cut them as a client, not right away, but you could see the effects long term, was it kind of woke them up. Because the people who I work with, or at least I get this sense, and I hope that they do as well, is they know I care about them. And they know I care more about them than I do the money. So for me to cut someone as a client, they know that it had to be pretty serious. And I've cut somebody before as a client who I was making over $600 a month from. And it wasn't helping them. And whether it was $6 a month, 600 or 6,000, it wasn't right for me to continue to take their money and continue to say no to people who wanted that time from me and my knowledge. So I've been very fortunate that pretty much from the start, I've had a waiting list for clients. So, fingers crossed, and I'm blessed and grateful for that. But it always made me feel bad whenever I could see someone waiting in the wings, so to speak, fired up, ready, excited to do it. But there I was taking the time for somebody who wasn't fired up. They weren't excited. They weren't even doing it. So they weren't doing anything to really move forward. And here I am kind of just making no difference in their life. It's making no difference for me personally or my business. And yet there's somebody waiting. So it was always better for me personally, business wise, and reputation, financial growth, all that stuff, to cut these people. So I'm going to go through the list today. And if you have people who fit this list, please consider cutting them as a client. You might not actually have a waiting list, but that time that you had devoted to your client, you can maybe devote towards marketing. You can devote towards content creation that'll help promote your business or help your clients. Maybe you can do like a newsletter you can send out to your clients during that time. Send like motivational stuff. You can use that time to benefit you, to educate yourself and help other clients and help your business. So if you miss out on 40, 50, 60, 70, $80 or whatever that hour, it's much better for you to invest that time into growing your business rather than have that money coming in but everything's going downhill. It puts you in a bad mood. The client isn't making any difference. Nothing really progressive is going to happen in 6 months. If in 6 months you're not going to be a better trainer from that time spent, fire the client. And yes, this sounds very rude, but again, you have to consider, are you actually making a progressive difference in their life? Or do you have your finger in the dam and hoping the thing doesn't explode? Okay? So it's not your job to hold together other people's lives. It's your job to influence other people's lives and make benefits and growth in their life. But if they are refusing to take the benefit and grow, then it's time for you to move on. Okay? Now, everybody does go through slumps, ourselves included. So before you fire them, check and see if what they're going through is a common thing or if it's just a momentary kind of crap thing in life. So if you feel a negative trend starting towards their behaviors and any of the things that we list in this podcast, track that behavior over, say, like a month or two and see if it's consistent, or maybe in that month or two it kind of fixes itself. If in the month or two it doesn't fix itself, address it with the client directly. Okay, you can do this in person or you can do an email. Sometimes people don't accept corrections very well in person. They kind of have a negative response because they haven't really had time to think it through and they feel personally attacked. So as much as like the older generations are going to hate that I say that you can do this through email because they like the face-to-face contact, today's generation of people can't handle face-to-face corrections very well. So I think I'm only 35, so I'm not that old, but I'm old enough to have friends and be very close in connection with people who are in their 40s, 50s, and even 60s. And when they were growing up, they just got told how shit was. Like, if you were being a dumbass, they just got told you were being a dumbass. So more likely that generation, now this is not always true, some of them were coddled out the wazoo too, but more likely the older generation can handle stuff face to face. But not everybody can. So if you feel like this person never really handles truth well, and most likely if they're behaving in any of these ways that we discuss, they might be very selfish or self-involved anyhow, so they're probably not going to be the type of people who handle truth well, you can do email. But you have to address it with the client before you just randomly fire them in their mind. You'll know why you're doing it, but they won't have a clue. So you have to discuss it with them, give them a chance to correct it. Okay? If in another month their actions aren't changed, then fire them. So you do need to fire clients. If they're prohibiting you from growing personally and business-wise, and they're shutting down their own growth, okay? You need to fire those people. But make sure you think it through, make sure you have good reason, and make sure you give them a chance to address it. So it's the same thing that we would want done for us. So if I was being a shithead, I'd hope somebody would kind of tell me, hey man, this is what I'm seeing. Do you think we can correct this? And I'd be like, oh crap, yeah, dang, geez Louise. Okay, yeah, let's try it. So I'd like a chance to correct my behavior. So if we would like that for us, we should give that to other people. Okay? So the first thing that I would suggest you should fire your clients for is if they don't give full attention during the training session. So your clients should not have their cell phone with them when they train. The only exception to this is if they have an on-call job. And if they do, their phone should be on and they should only look at it if they're getting a business call. So your clients absolutely 100% should not be on their phone, texting, kids, family, spouses, checking the weather, whatever the bullshit people do on their phones. So they should absolutely not have their phone. And we've talked about this as a trainer in past podcasts. You shouldn't have your damn phone. Okay? Now, if you say, oh, I keep notes on my phone, bullshit. Keep them on a piece of paper and transfer them to your phone later. If you have your phone, you look distracted, whether you are or are not. And then anytime you get a text or an email or anything, you're going to see it pop up. You're a human being. You're going to glance at it. You're going to want to know what it is. Even if you don't glance at it, now you'll have this thing in your head going, I wonder what that is. I wonder what that is. I wonder what that is for the rest of the session. So as a trainer, don't have your phone in your hand. Absolutely no exception, whatever. Don't care, whatever bullshit reason you want to give to me. Don't have your phone in your hand. Okay? Now, maybe you're having a family emergency. Maybe somebody's in the hospital. Put your phone in your pocket. Okay? It can stay in your pocket. But don't carry the damn thing around in your hand. And we shouldn't let our clients do the same thing. It's about distraction. If they're not focused in on the training, they're not going to get the best results. Also, it's about freaking respect. So I don't want to stand there having my hour devoted to help somebody and they have their nose buried in a cell phone. That's disrespectful. And as a trainer, I don't feel like I should be disrespected as much as I try not to disrespect my clients. So I try to be extremely, extremely aware of whether I'm being disrespectful first before I worry about anybody's being disrespectful towards me. Okay? So don't get all high and snooty about somebody mistreating you if you're, talking to some girl across the gym or some guy across the gym. You're talking with other trainers and you're not even paying attention to your client. So make sure you live to the highest standard first that you would expect of others. So be there before you expect them to be. So they shouldn't have their phone in their hand. They should be focused. And they should be giving their best. So if they're not giving their best, they're kind of petering out, not trying hard, and you tell them like, hey man, you stopped that set like at 10, but you really could have done like 12 or 13. And they're like, well, yeah, I don't know, like blah, 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 blah. And they just have a negative attitude. They just kind of not giving everything they can to the session. So if you notice things happening, if they're on their phone, okay, that should be addressed immediately the first time it ever happens. Just say, hey, please, if you don't mind, I'd rather have you not have your phone with you during our session. If you need to carry it for work purposes, that's fine, but please don't pick it up and look at it while we're training. Yes, I've actually said that to clients. And if the person says, screw you, it's my phone, I'm allowed to have my phone, well then who gives a shit? Fine, get rid of them, okay? Or give them to somebody else. Now, if you work for a big box gym and you say, I can't fire my clients, yeah, you can. Talk to the personal training director. Tell them what's going on. Okay. I have been affiliated and worked with and dealt with big commercial gyms, and personal training directors are driven by money. So it is true. Sorry if anybody out there is listening. You might be the exception if you're listening to this podcast, and that's actually probably true if you are listening to this podcast. But you would also then know as well that overwhelmingly most personal training directors are driven by money. So you have to kind of explain to your personal training director and say, hey, listen, this person isn't going to work for me. So they're being disrespectful. They're not paying attention to me. They're not going to get the best results. So if you want long-term results for this client, if you want them to keep coming back and paying the gym money, if I let them behave in this way, once their contract is up and they get no results because they didn't put in the work, they're going to move on and we're going to lose out on their money. So I need to push on this person to keep their phone without them so that way they can get the results and they'll sign back up and we'll get more and more money out of them. If the personal trainer director doesn't agree with you, then ask them to transfer the client to someone else. Okay? Don't take the responsibility of that. Okay. Now, that's basically what you're going to look for. So that's the main reason why I fire clients is they come in and habitually just don't give their best. They're kind of not even there mentally. They're not like, you can just tell they're not really doing anything that's going to get us where we want to go. And I'm showing up with good workouts. I'm showing up with a positive attitude, but they keep shutting everything down because they're not showing up with their full attention and full kind of excitement and gusto and effort towards the training. So I have fired a lot of clients over the years, and that's the number one reason why. So if you notice it happening, like I said, track a trend. So I've actually told people, hey, you know what? Out of the last 20 workouts, we've had 15 that you came in with a really negative attitude to the point where I had to modify our workout because we couldn't even get everything in that we really should have gotten in. 15 out of 20 workouts, really? So I'll actually have data like that to kind of back up my statements. So, like we said at the beginning, is track their behavior for a month or two. See, like, out of how many sessions that behavior exists. You know, if it's 10 out of 10, fire them. So, but if it's happening, bring it to their attention immediately. Okay, give the discussion of that issue focused on their results. So don't make yourself the focus. Okay, even if you feel disrespected, don't mention that first. Make it about them. How is their behavior going to negatively impact their own results in their own experience? They'll change faster for that than they will over the concern for you. So, for example, if somebody's texting on their cell phone, they already don't give a shit about you. So if you tell them that you're disrespected, they don't care. So they wouldn't be texting in the first place if they cared. So you want to tell them how it's going to negatively impact their results. And that's going to allow them to be more likely to change or correct the issue. So another reason why we have that you should fire your clients is if they're always late or if they're always canceling on you. Okay? So a client shouldn't be late more than once a month. And first of all, you should never be late and you should never cancel on a regular basis. So we talked about in that 10 Reasons Why Your Clients Should Fire You podcast that you need to uphold all of these standards before you would expect a client to uphold them. Okay? So if you're always late and you're always canceling, you can't be, feeling all high and mighty and yelling at your clients for it if you're doing it too. So we should expect this standard from ourselves first before we expect it from our clients. But if you do have the standard established in your behavior and the client is showing up late, once a week or twice a week or, more often than once a month, if they're having to cancel more often than once a month, you want to make sure that you have these policies set in place before you sign up the client. Okay, so sometimes people have cancellation policies of if you cancel less than 24 hours ahead of the session, you still have to pay the full price. Okay, we have some that you can cancel like 1 out of every 8 sessions. If you cancel more than that, you got to pay the full price. We have some people that if you cancel a session, you have to pay half the price. You just want to have some type of rules in place. So that way, if a client is constantly late and they're constantly canceling, you don't feel the financial repercussions. They do. If their behavior is the problem, they should feel the financial repercussions, not you. People won't change their behavior if they don't experience the consequences. Okay? So this is very, very, very important. That if you want someone to change their behavior has to hurt them. And then they'll change. So the cancellation policies and late policies and stuff need to be in place. If you don't have them established now, write a policy, make it universal for all clients, and do it tomorrow. Okay, bring it to everybody's attention, do it as soon as possible, make everybody agree to it. If they don't agree, fire them, bring in somebody else. Okay? But they need to feel the repercussions for their behavior if you want their behavior to change. Now, like we said, if it's happening on a frequent basis, bring it up to them. Okay. Again, tell them how it's affecting their results. It's not about you, it's about them. And then ask if they want to move to a different time. Maybe they want to do a shorter session. But try to find some concession, if needed, to make it more consistent, to make it more appropriate, to make it feel less disrespectful to yourself and less financially repercussive to yourself. I don't even know if that's the right word, but you know what I meant. But that's another issue that we would fire clients is if they're late and canceling all the time. Another one would be is if they're too demanding in regards to communication. So this is another thing that you need to set expectations for when you sign up for people. So I did not do this when I was younger. I just assumed people would behave like normal, found out there is no such thing as normal, so I was too naive. And then I'd be afraid to kind of bring up negatives of the first day. I'm like, man, they're excited and fired up to start. I don't want to talk about all this negative stuff. You got to. I apologize, but you got to. So that's just the way it goes. Human beings will have mistakes. We all make mistakes, ourselves included. So it's good for them to understand what the consequences of their mistakes are before they start making them. It's hard to correct things later. So for communication expectations, so like the boundaries I like to set, or we try to communicate outside of our sessions. So obviously we communicate in our sessions if they're an in-person client. But outside of the sessions, we try to communicate once or twice per week. That's totally fine. If they're texting you every day, that's bullshit. That is not going to last. Okay. So for example, I had one client who I believe I was training them the next day, but they texted. I trained clients in the morning from say like 8 to noon, and at 12-ish, I got into my office, got to my phone, and I saw a text from them at like 8 o'clock asking, hey, are you there? I have a question for you. Then at 8:30 is, hey, are you there? I have a question for you. Like 9:30 was, hey, I've texted you twice before. I didn't know if your phone got them, so I wanted to follow up with another text. Then around 11, it was like, hey, I'd appreciate a text back sometime today. I really have an important question. So I actually did not text them back for the entire rest of the day on purpose. Then when they came into their session, they said, hey, I texted you yesterday. And I said, I'm aware of it. You texted me significantly too many times. That was ridiculous to text me 5, 6, 7 times in one day. Yes, my phone got your text. That's how phones work. I will reply when I can, but not to this. And I actually said that to the client. Okay? So you got to speak up. You got to speak up for yourself. It's bullshit if they're doing stuff like that. That's ridiculous behavior. So I had another client who was an online client, and he expected me to communicate with him every day. He'd text me every morning saying like, hey, feeling good today. I'm excited for the workout. And at first I'm like, okay, woohoo. but if you text back and you say, oh, that's great, good luck. And they'll text back on, yeah, da 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 da. And it's like, well, holy crap, if you have 30, 40 people, I can't have a conversation with you every morning via text. And then all of a sudden they'd text me and they'd be like in the middle of the workout and they would say, hey, such and such came up, what should I do for this and this? And that's okay if it's every once in a while, but I was often training clients, so I would get a text, like see that text, then 20 minutes later was, well, I didn't hear back from you, so I did this instead. It'd be nice to get a response sooner. Well, it's like, well, shit, I had trained people. I can't text you back every minute of every day. So I had somebody who was like that, and this is even somebody who we had talked that emails are preferable and texts are for emergency, but they would text me all the time. So that communication did not last long. And the person said that they wished I would have communicated more with them. And to which I replied, it would be nice to be able to communicate with my clients every day. However, the volume of people I work with to meet my financial requirements does not allow that. If you like that type of service, I would suggest you work with someone's forget how I worded it, but it was basically like, if you like that type of service, I would suggest you work with somebody who has those expectations set at the beginning. And it wasn't, it sounded way better in email than it did in the way I'm saying it now. But it was basically, if they truly did want that type of service, by no means is there anything wrong with that. It's just that wasn't what we had agreed upon in our start. So if they were expecting that from me, they were definitely looking in the wrong place. So I do actually work with a couple trainers, 2 or 3, who do very in-depth assistance with their clients. So they actually have clients that they text and email every single day. But they charge them enormous amounts of money because you can't have a ton of clients. So if you have to make, say, $4,000 a month to pay your bills, how in the world are you going to, have enough clients that, like, say you're paying $100 a month per client and you need to make $4,000 to pay your bills. That's a lot of clients, right? So what is that, 40? If I can do math, I believe. So you're going to try to text 40 people every day? Ain't going to happen. so I know an online client who boasts about having 99 online clients. Okay, an online trainer, I mean. He has 99 online clients. And those people pay for what they would consider as personalized programming. He does not write personalized programming for 99 people. And there's no way in hell he's getting a hold of 99 people in one day. So if a client expects something other than what you have to give, that first of all is your fault if you haven't made it clear of what you're willing to give. That's why you have to set expectations, which is setting boundaries when you first sign them up. then if they expect something or they try to get something outside of your boundaries, outside of what you set up, you can gently remind them that, hey, when we first met, I said I'd only be able to get in touch with you about once or twice a week. So I'm trying my best, but that's as much as I'm going to be able to do. Hopefully you're okay with that. If not, hopefully maybe we can find you somebody who can communicate with you more often. So something like that. So you have to set these parameters up ahead of time and then hold steady to them. If you allow the people to push you outside of your boundaries, you will feel used, you will feel resentful, and you won't feel like helping them much, and you'll feel kind of angry towards all of your clients in general, and you're going to feel burned out. So you have to set boundaries, and you have to adhere to the boundaries. It's helpful for your mental health. It's helpful for the rest of your clients, the growth of your business. So don't lose all of those things by one person who's overly demanding. Okay? Set expectations and hold standard to them. Okay. Another reason we have that you might need to fire your client is if they're not adhering to the program. So if you guys set up a program to make results towards the goals that they wanted, and they're not following it, and they're consistently not following it, like we said, is if you see a trend, track the trend, discuss it with them. If there's no corrections after the discussion, then you fire them. So if you have somebody where you're taking care of the training with them, but they're not following the diet, and they're constantly saying how, like sad they are, bummed they are that they're not getting results. They constantly say, I don't understand what's happening. I'm coming to the gym and I don't seem to be losing weight, or I don't seem to be getting any stronger. And if you constantly say, well, if you're not doing your food, you're not going to get the results. And if you just keep having that discussion, it's time to fire them. So I have had that where I had somebody who flat out lied to me and said that they were following the diet, and I know they weren't. So here's a little weird information, is when someone sweats, you can smell what they've eaten. This is really weird, and I'm sure everybody, if you're listening to this point, your ears are probably perking up because it's awkward. But if somebody drinks alcohol the night before the training session, okay, and you train them the next morning and they start sweating out the alcohol, guess what, people? We can smell that. So if you've been training long enough, you can smell the type of diet people have. Okay, there's also sweat patterns. So the vegans smell different than people who eat meat. So vegans have more of an ammonia vinegar type smell to them when they sweat, whereas meat eaters do not. You see sweat patterns. So if somebody sweats very fast, like within the first 15 minutes, and then they kind of fade out in energy around 30 to 45 minutes, that means that their diet is more sugar-based than slow carbohydrates. So that's, again, another thing to know if they overate last night in sugar. So if they ate things they shouldn't have eaten, you can see that in their sweat patterns. You can see that in energy patterns. So how somebody's energy throughout a 30 to 60-minute workout fades tells you about their diet. How their sweat pattern is tells you about their diet, and how they smell tells you about their diet. So I had a lady who came in and was telling me everything under the sun about how this perfect diet she was having, but she smelled like alcohol every morning. I knew she was drinking wine. And then all of a sudden one night on a Tuesday, I saw her in a grocery store, and she had bottles of wine in her cart, and she told me that she was having a get-together with friends. On a Tuesday night? So this stuff does come out. So if you have somebody that you suspect for not working with you, not following the diet in that way, get them to do an adherence chart. Okay, ask them questions about their nutrition. So if somebody denies you access to their nutrition, that means they're embarrassed by it, and or they know they're doing something wrong. When people do stuff correctly, they love for you to know. They want to show that off. So if somebody tells you, oh no, I got diet down good, I'm good with my diet. Bullshit. Or if you sound like, hey, where's our adherence chart? Have you been tracking like your foods? Oh yeah, I'm doing well. I don't really need the paper. I'm pretty consistent every day. Bullshit. So if they don't share that with you, they're hiding something, and people only hide things they don't want you to see. Okay? So that's something you can think of. So if somebody's not following their diet, that's one reason why you might want to fire them as a client.